Together, we're exploring the intersection of faith, biology, and the signals that shape how we heal.
You'll hear conversations about nervous system safety,
peptides, and cellular communication,
prayer, trust, and what it means to live aligned with design.
No hype,
no pressure,
just curiosity, relationship, and truth.
Welcome to Prayer and Peptides.
Today, we are diving into something that can quickly keep so many people stuck. The myths we've believed about health and faith, the things we've been told, picked up along the way, or maybe even assumed to be true, that are actually the things that are holding us back.
Yeah, like things like we have to choose between trusting in God or taking care of our bodies, or believing that we just have to be more disciplined and we'd feel better. These mindsets can create frustration, confusion, and honestly, I think it can create a lot of disconnection.
Before we jump into this conversation, and we're going to challenge some things today that you may have held as truth for a long time. I want us to get grounded first. So you know the routine if you've been here before. If you're not, this is how we focus each week and connect with our nervous system. Because the nervous system doesn't receive new information well when it's braced. When we're tense, defended, or running on cortisol, the brain actually becomes less receptive. So this breath is not just a ritual, it's literally preparing your mind to be open. So if you're driving, keep breathing, because we're going to do this and settle in. So sit comfortably, close your eyes if that feels safe. Again, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. It's dangerous for other people. All right, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. As you breathe in, let your body soften. Let your shoulders drop. And release whatever you walked in carrying today. Unclench your jaw and soften your hands. Let's do one more. Slow, deep inhale. Full, gentle exhale all the way out. Good. You're here. You're present. And whatever you thought you knew about health and faith, hold it loosely today. Because the goal of this conversation is not to overwhelm you with more information, but it's to help you let go of what was never true to begin with.
Coming back into this space, we just want to invite you to listen with an open mind and an open heart.
Because sometimes the breakthrough isn't doing more, it's seeing things differently.
All right. You thought I missed it, but I didn't. But the word of the episode is myth. It enters you to win some of our incredible giveaways. And trust me, by the time that this episode is over, you're going to make that word feel very, very personal. So here's why we chose it. A myth is not always a lie someone told you on purpose. Sometimes it's a belief that was passed down, repeated often enough to feel like fact, and never questioned because everyone around you believed it too. We have myths about health, about calories, cardio, caffeine, and what a healthy diet actually is supposed to look like. And we all have myths about faith, about joy, doubt, and whether science and spirituality belong in the same room. Today, we are naming them, and what gets named gets released. So let's go.
Okay, I'm excited about today's episode. So let's get started with something that I hear about all the time. Calorie deficit. Oh my gosh. There is always so much talk about losing weight. I mean, if you're around a bunch of people and enough people, this subject will literally come up almost daily. So my question, Anna, is do you think it's really as simple as just eating less?
The short answer? Nope. The long answer is that this myth has done more damage to a lot of women who are doing a lot of things right. So here is what is actually happening when people search for why am I not losing weight, eating less. And this is one of the most common searches in the women's wellness space. So the answer is not so your body is not a calculator. It's a communication system. And when you eat less without addressing why your body is holding on, you often just trigger a more aggressive protection response. Your body will only release things when it feels safe, and it's not going to feel safe in starvation. So here's what I mean clinically. When you chronically undereat, your body reads that as a famine signal. Leptin, your satiety hormone, drops. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, spikes. Your thyroid dysregulates or down burning fat. The person who is eating 1,200 calories, feeling exhausted, not losing weight, and blaming themselves for lacking discipline, their body is working perfectly. It's doing what it's designed to do given the elements that you're feeding it because it perceives starvation. The problem is not willpower, it's the signal. So what actually moves the needle is changing the signal. Eating enough to convince your body that the resources are safe and consistent. Prioritizing protein so your lean muscle mass, which drives your metabolic rate, is protected. Your muscle is your wealth. Managing the cortisol load and addressing sleep, those are all levers that actually matter. So eating less is not a strategy, it's a stressor. And Amy, I want to pass it to you. So how often do you see people doing everything right on paper and still not seeing results?
I see it a lot. And the one thing that I tend to talk to females about, especially, and even males, is just because it's not always one size fits all. What is going to work for my body is not always going to work for somebody else's. Now, can we use tips and different resources? Absolutely. But also, I think we have to listen to the signals of our body. So, for example, not to get like TMI here, but one thing that I do find with women is sometimes that we hold on to waste and do not go to the bathroom, let's be honest, multiple times. And then I used to be like that. I thought it was like normal that you went like once every few days. That's not normal. Like, that's not okay. I just convinced myself that that was okay. I did everything right on paper, right? I was eating what I was supposed to. I was following the plans, but I was at a plateau. I was at a standstill. I met this one lady who, like, that's all she talked about. And I was like, whoa, you are TMI. We are talking way too much about going to the bathroom. Then I saw what she was helping other people do, right? Like with the scale. And it was really like eye-opening to me because I thought I was doing everything right on paper, but I wasn't listening to the signals of my body and how my body should be flowing to be my best self. And I think that is something that we have to really be aware of. The diet crazes, right? It's not something you can always jump on that bandwagon. I'm one person that has to remind myself to eat. I have to remind myself to get that protein in and doing all the things because I just keep going and going and going. So, when I think about this, I want to ask Lauren a question. Isn't it true that our bodies just aren't calculators?
We're definitely not calculators. Your body is constantly adapting. What you need can change based on sleep, hormones, even your environment. And so I don't think that we're calculators at all. I mean, you could put the data in, but it might not add up the numbers just correctly. You have to give it what it needs at that particular time. There is this body scan that I use that I absolutely love. Now, I'm going to tell you about it, and you're going to probably think, oh, this sounds woo-woo, but hold on, because I'm telling you, this thing is so cool. It's amazing. Okay, so what it does is it reads your blood cells through your phone. You can actually use it on your phone. It's an app. As it reads your blood cells, it can tell you about different biomarkers in your body. And it reads 4 different core systems. It reads detoxification, gastrointestinal stuff, hormonal, endocrine type stuff, and then the immune system. And then it also reads 6 different lifestyle areas like diet and nutrition, hydration, inflammation, mental stress, sleep, and toxic stress. Okay. And here's the thing. Matter when you scan yourself, it will literally change based on so many factors. So if I scan myself right now and it shows me that I am dehydrated and marker is out of range because I haven't had water, I haven't been drinking electrolytes, and then drinking water and I start having my electrolytes and I rescan myself in a couple of days, guess what? my biomarker is going to be back in the normal range. It's going to be back where it's supposed to be. So it has changed. It has adapted because I gave my body what it needed. And so just like the scanner, I think our bodies definitely adapt. So I don't think it's just about eating less. And I love that you brought that up, Amy, about, eliminating waste, because that is a true thing. It's a real thing for a lot of women. There's some women that, they don't think twice about it, but there are things we're not eating properly or we're not getting the right nutrition to actually make us eliminate. And so I think it is really about supporting your body and giving it what it needs in that moment.
So, okay, let's tackle another myth. How about try this one on for size? More cardio is better. So calories in versus calories out. Okay, this one hits so close to home because it makes sense that if you burn more calories than you eat, then that should move the scale, right? But it actually doesn't. And I remember training for my first fitness competition, and all the girls are lined up on the treadmill and the bikes and the stair climber, and we're all like hoofing it. We're doing all the things. And then you've got the guys over there. I mean, they're massive bodybuilders and they are walking slowly. I mean, I'm like at a 0.5. They are walking very slowly on the treadmill. And I'm just like, well, how does this not make sense? Because they want to lean out too, but they're not sacrificing their muscle like we are. So here's what is actually happening physiologically when someone asks, does too much cardio cause weight gain? Yes, it actually absolutely can. And here's why. Cardio is a cortisol producing activity. In the right dose, it's fine. It's good to do some HIIT exercises and some sprints, get those variables, and to go for a walk. But long hours of stair stepping and cardio, that spikes your cortisol. Cortisol drives the effort, and then you have to come back down for recovery. And sometimes we don't do that. So the problem is when the dose becomes chronic. When someone is doing high intensity cardio every single day, especially in a calorie deficit, the cortisol never fully resolves. It stays elevated, and that creates a problem. So chronically elevated cortisol tells your body to break down muscle tissue for fuel, store fat, preferentially around the midsection, and suppress thyroid function. And that is a resistant formula for fat loss to stop in its tracks because the body believes it's under sustained threat. So I had a period in my life when I was doing everything that the wellness world told me to. Eating clean, training hard, logging the hours, and I felt worse. My sleep was disrupted, my recovery was poor, my mood was flat, and I wasn't making any progress despite eating very few calories and expending a ton of calories. So the shift for me was reducing that intensity, adding strength training, and prioritizing recovery. So within a few weeks, my sleep improved and my energy stabilized and my body started responding again. Not because I worked harder, because I worked smarter and I gave my nervous system permission to come down. So more is not always better. And sometimes the most productive thing that you can do for your body is less strategically. So Amy, what do you think happens when people just keep adding cardio and reducing their food intake to lose weight?
If you would have asked me this 20 years ago, I would have had a completely different answer. But Amy, now, and knowing my own body and understanding what's going on, I think it really causes people to end up more exhausted, more inflamed, and sometimes even hold on to that weight. And then there's frustration that happens. When I think about myself, I was a D1 athlete, volleyball player, worked out constantly in the gym, like constantly. We would have 4 to 5 hour practices. We would have practice and then have weights and then have all the things. And my body was different then than it is now. And I was a person that would be like, okay, I just got to add more cardio. Well, I was miserable. I was miserable and I wasn't losing weight. And I'm like, what is going on? But then I did more of a weight training, right? I walked. I did all the things you just spoke about. And that's where I saw the shift. And, when you were speaking, you weren't telling people that they should just sit on the couch. Okay, no more cardio, no more movement. That's not, and I don't want people to take that from what we're talking about. We're not saying that there's not a time and a place for all of these things. What I heard you say, and I don't want to speak for you, is there's balance. And you have to be able to take that balance and really implement that into your workout, into your regimen, and how you live your best self in your health. If you don't, it's going to backfire on you. So, Lauren, why do you think that things backfire for many people?
Really, it backfires because it's just putting stress on your body. I'm trying to lose weight. So do something silly like I did.
Yeah, it's really easy to get into that chronic cardio and
Relying on caffeine to get through the day.
Well, I'm glad you asked me this question because um, this was me. I was somebody that used to drink caffeine all day long. So if somebody were to ask me now, I'd be like, you probably just need to sleep better. Just get some better sleep and then you'll be more protective in the next day. Or let's look at, some of your cortisol levels. I used to be a huge coffee drinker and I just like the taste of it too. I like the flavors of it. I like adding cream to it. I like to pretend I'm a barista and like create little coffee mocktails, coffee I don't know. I just love coffee too. And um I used to have a commute to work, like it was an hour long, and I would drink coffee on my way to work. And then it would get cold once I got, working if I had some left over. So I'd go heat up another cup. And then, around 2:30, 3 o'clock, I needed that extra push to get me through to 7 o'clock or 7:30. So what did I do? I made me another cup. And honestly, there were times that I would drink it to help me like fast throughout the day. It was like if I couldn't eat food, I could have a cup of coffee. And that kind of helps me get through a little bit. And so the thing about coffee for me is that it really messed up my hormones so bad. Like it had me in such a high state of cortisol, which I didn't even realize at the time. Like I never knew that I was messing myself up. I just thought I was having coffee. Like that's normal in my family to drink coffee. But it like raised my estrogen really high. And then that messed up my menstrual cycles. And then I had acne and then my body was stressed out. I was tired. I was actually more tired the more caffeine I drank, which was crazy because you think that you're going to get energy from it. And I held on to stubborn fat. It slowed down my metabolism. Like it totally messed me up. And so caffeine can make create fatigue, but it can also worsen the cycle if you're not addressing the cause. And so I think for anybody that asks me that question that you just asked me, you have to address the actual root cause. Why are you drinking so much caffeine? Why are you using this as like a route to get you moving in the direction you need to go or to get you through your day? There's got to be something else there underlining that's keeping you or preventing you from having the energy you should have on your own.
Also, is your coffee just a vehicle for cream and sugar? Like, I like a lot of cream with a little bit of coffee. Like, that was why I had to quit drinking. And I was a barista. I was a barista in high school and college, and I loved it, but I don't drink it anymore. It just doesn't feel good in my body. So, here's where the next myth that we're going to talk about diet camp. Which one is the best and which one is right? So, is it carnivore, keto, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian? Is it the Mediterranean diet? Is it the just look at pictures of food diet? Which one is the best? And I want to share something personal with you here because I think this myth does more harm than almost any other in the science space and the health space is that the idea that there's only one right way to eat and it's not working for you, that something is wrong with you. So I went through a season where I was dealing with significant inflammation, joint pain, brain fog, fatigue that did not respond to sleep, and I had been eating what most people consider a clean, balanced diet. My body was not responding well to it. And there was also a time where I could not look at a picture of dairy without it causing some kind of inflammation. So, on the guidance of my functional medicine practitioner, I shifted to eating primarily steak and butter for a period of time just to give my body a break from all the things. And this is essentially an animal-based elimination protocol. So, it's just to identify what's driving the inflammation. So, it could be dairy, could be grains, could be gluten, could be all of the things. So, this was one of the most clarifying experiences that I've had with my own body. Now, I don't eat strictly carnivore now, but I'm probably 80% 85% of the way there. But that's what I like to eat anyway, is whole foods. And if it comes off the hoof or comes out of the ground, it's okay for me to eat. Within a few weeks, my inflammation markers dropped and my joints felt different. And I'm so in tune with my body that I can tell when I get something in my body that doesn't belong there. It's like, hello, don't do that again. Don't do that again. And it's very painful and I have to listen because it hurts. So you have to decide with your intuition what diet is best and what your body responds to. An elimination protocol can help. And then you can do food sensitivity testing. Now, here's the thing about food sensitivity testing. If you have been eating the same types of food consistently, you're going to be sensitive to them. It's going to show up in the test. I made myself, when I was competing, I made myself allergic to egg whites because I was eating 18 a day. So I had to go through a stage where I didn't eat egg whites to reset my body so it wasn't sensitive to them again. So if you are sensitive to things that you consistently currently eat, that's just why. It's just overstimulation. So there are lessons and seasons in my life where I have been really strict based on my inflammation and what my body demands. And then there's times where I'm not so strict. So your body is designed with precision. It deserves a nutritional approach that matches that precision. So tune into it and learn what the signals are telling you and the foods that you eat. So Amy, what is your take on this? Because I know that you have to listen to those signals when they get really loud too.
For me, I truly think the best question is what works for you. So too many times it's like, well, my friend does this, so I'm going to do it. Well, I am similar to you that I did the elimination diet and I figured out that I needed to be gluten-free. I also cannot have potatoes. I have either of those things. I immediately have joint pain. Anna, you have been with me when I've been gluten before and had to help me through it. That I get a severe headache. My joints hurt. I can tell you probably within 10 minutes that something had gluten in it or there was some sort of potato in it. When I went gluten-free, I thought I was one of those people that said, I'm never going to be able to do it. Like, I like too many things. I had to learn how to eat gluten-free without feeling deprived of the joy of eating. And there is a whole thing about that. Like when you change your diet and you see everybody being able to eat other things, there is a transition where you're like, that kind of, but then you overcome it and you're like, no, I'm feeling better. This is what's best for my body. You chill out and then you figure out your own rhythm. It did help when I gave up gluten, the inflammation. That is the biggest thing. And I did start feeling better with brain fog and just really, my body felt more calm. It sounds crazy, but it did. So, Lauren, how do you help people navigate that without getting overwhelmed with all this going on in their life?
Yeah, I think it's basically what you guys have both been saying is I like to remind people that there is no one size fits all when it comes to this. And Anna, just like what you were talking about, like really tune into your own body. Try a bit of everything and pick up on what works for you and what doesn't. For me personally, both my husband and I, we follow something called Eat Right for your blood type, because I do believe that we all have different blood types, and each blood type has a different protein. And so some of our blood types want certain types of protein, and some of our blood types actually reject certain protein. It can cause inflammation in our system, even if it's a very healthy food. For instance, like for my blood type, I shouldn't have any type of melons. Watermelon's a healthy food. It's a fruit, like I would never think that. And I actually was one that would like load up on some watermelon. I loved watermelon. So it's just kind of tuning in and figuring out what is best for you. If you do better on steak and butter, by all eat the steak and butter. Do what you need to do. Eliminate your diet. Take out the dairy. Take out the gluten. For me, I agree. Being gluten-free also is helpful for my body type. It says in my blood type that I shouldn't have gluten. So I don't know what your blood type is, but maybe that is a similarity there too. But yeah, I just remind people that there is no one size fits all. And so just learn your body, tune in, just like Anna was saying, and, try a little bit of everything and do what's best for you.
Hey guys, real quick. If you want to join our community of believers optimizing their health, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to follow us on TikTok, where you will find more information on these peptides, videos of us, and special giveaways from our sponsors.
All right, let's shift into faith because there are just as many misconceptions here as there are with like the faith myths. I mean, with the food myths. So, one of the biggest ones that I personally think is a myth is that Christians should always be happy. Anna, what are your thoughts here?
So this one kind of hits close to home because I've navigated a chronic illness and not letting that show. And it can put you in a place that makes you feel isolated, not only in your sickness, but also spiritually, because you like physically isolate yourself. So one of the things that is super duper important is to be within that community and to know where your joy comes from and to know that your joy is new every morning. So I think that we can also get into the place where we try to rely on our own happiness and our own joy without tapping it into like every day. So if you've ever read the book, The Bible Project, is that what it's called? So anyway, with Tara Lee Cobble, she every day is He's where the joy is. She ends every single day with He's where the joy is. So finding Him in the daily word, using that Bible app that we talked about in YouVersion in our last episode is really helpful to find things outside of myself that really plug into generating where that happiness can come from. So, Amy, what would you say to somebody sitting with doubt right now who has been afraid of that their faith is not enough, or they're playing small, or they have a very new faith? What would you say to them?
I'm going to answer that in two parts because it's funny that this question comes up about faith. We have to remember first that we're human, and at times we're going to really lean into our faith, and there's sometimes that we're going to be challenged with it. Right now, I'm walking a journey with a very, very good friend, like actively going through it right now with her. And she is probably one of the strongest people I know in her faith. And she's helping transition her grandmother in life. And I am the one now reminding her to lean into the faith, and her thinking, is that enough? Am I going to get through this? Am I strong enough? Am I doing the right thing? When I have reminded her that God has chosen her to be the messenger, to walk hand in hand with her grandmother. And what a gift and honor that is, even though through our sacrifice and our own feelings of grief, that faith, don't look at it small. Don't play with it small. You got to pour into it, but you're allowed to also go through the process of the grief, of the challenging. Why is this happening to me? But also to really dig deep into your faith. And I think too many times we had another person that we were talking to on one of the episodes that they were talking about their own faith and how they said, I don't even know if at times I'm playing small with it or if I'm just dabbling and finding my way. And I think this myth can really affect the way people are really feeling in their faith. Lauren, can you talk a little bit more about how do you see the myth affecting people?
First of all, I'm so sorry to hear that about your friend and transitioning her grandmother because that's hard in itself. And I have been there with my dad, and it's an easy task, but it is. If you could see the blessing in it, it is a blessing to be able to do that. You know, there's a lot of times where people don't get to say their goodbyes, and to be able to do that for somebody and be with them, that is so special and so sweet. I do think that we're all human, right? And we all experience a full range of emotions. But unfortunately, society, especially on social media, makes us feel like if we aren't happy, then we really aren't living a successful life. And so I think it can create a lot of pressure. Um, Pressure to hide what's really going on in your life. And people feel like they can't be honest about their struggles. And if they are, then they're not doing something right. And I think that can kind of lead to more disconnection. Because the truth of the matter is we all have struggles. We all have something going on in our life. And when you have your safe group, when you have your safe friends, when you have your safe family that you can talk to, that you can, lean on, that's not going to judge you, that's always going to be there for you no matter what, that's going to encourage you, then you can get through. And we always have God. We always have our faith. We always have our prayer time, and we could do that with Him too. So I do think that this myth about how we should just always be happy is kind of silly. Like, we can't just always be happy. There's no way. So, yeah, I think it leads to more disconnection.
And another myth is that in that disconnection, when we struggle or we have doubt, that means our faith is weak or inadequate. So the truth is that doubt is not an absence of faith. It's often the beginning of a deeper one. It helps us ask questions and get connected. The psalmist doubted, Job doubted, Thomas doubted. And those are not cautionary tales. They're the texture of a real relationship with God. Honest, wrestling, unresolved at times, but ultimately held. What I find personally is that people who have the most integrated faith, the kind that actually sustains them through real hardship, are not the ones who never questioned. The ones that never wrestled with it. They're the ones who brought their questions to God instead of pretending that they didn't have them. So I have those questions all the time. Like, why is it this way? What are you asking me to learn? If it were up to me, I wouldn't do it this way, but His thoughts are greater than our thoughts for a good reason. And I'm so glad for it. All the time when I get through asking the question. So what is one thing? What would you say, Amy, to someone that feels that way when they're stuck in their doubt of like, how would you encourage them to wrestle?
I would say doubt doesn't disqualify your faith. It actually deepens it. And one story that I can talk about is I was a teacher at one point at a Catholic school, and I was teaching second grade. And in second grade at the school that they had reconciliation and first communion. And I remember wondering if I was good enough. Was I strong enough in my faith to lead these 29 students, which was wild at 29, just me, in their faith and in their journey? And I remember thinking, why was I chosen for this? This is such a huge deal in our religion. Like, first communion is like, you know, it's a big deal. It's important. And I remember doubting my own faith, and was I strong enough to do this? And was I worthy to do it? And actually going through the process, and I still have the picture of me with all of my students at their reconciliation and their first communion. And that was my first teaching class ever. And I will tell you, they have been the root and the foundation for me. And I truly believe that moment really helped me lean in and feel better about myself. So I would tell anybody, if they were having doubt in their faith, that's normal, and be able to be stronger in it when you're walking through the journey.
If this episode is landing for you, if something we've said today, something that you've been carrying for a long time, subscribe. That one action helps us reach women and others who have been living under these myths for years and don't yet know that there's another way. So we are so grateful you are here. Okay, last one. Faith and science don't belong together. What do we do with this myth? Lauren, why do you think people feel like they have to choose?
Why do people feel like they have to choose? I mean, I think it's been framed this way for so long. Like, either you're on this side or you're on this side. But personally, I see faith and science like working together. And to me, science explains how the body works. And faith just reminds us like how it was designed to work, and like who designed it to work, When I was going through my health certification, I actually grew so much in my faith, because when you learn so much about the body and how it connects and how it works and how this is connected to this, and if you do this and then it does this, like, there's so much connection within our body, and nothing is forgotten about, nothing is like not thought of, that it's hard to even fathom that somebody loved us so much, that created us so perfect and thought all these amazing things through. Like, it really does help you grow in your faith. And so, I mean, God literally thought of everything, and all of it is just connected from our head to our feet. I mean, literally from our emotions to even our like attitude, like even all that plays a part in our body, in our health. And so I don't think that science and faith compete each other at all. I think they actually complement each other. And you get more of a complete picture of what healing truly looks like when you combine the two.
Did you know Prayer and Peptides is now available on all your favorite platforms? You can catch Prayer and Peptides on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So no matter where you are, at home, in your car, or in the gym, your next episode is just a tap away. Search Prayer and Peptides, hit follow, and never miss an episode.
As we wrap up today's conversation, I just want to remind you, if you believed any of these myths, you're not alone. Many of us have. But awareness is where things begin to shift.
And the goal isn't perfection, it's alignment. Learning to listen to your body, renewing your mind, and staying grounded in the truth, both in your life, your health, and in your faith.
Sometimes it's not about doing more. It's about letting go of what was never true to begin with. It's for what actually supports you.
So take what's resonated today, sit with it, and ask yourself, what's one belief I can release? And what truth can I step into instead?
And as always, we're here to walk this out with you. You don't have to figure all of this out on your own. If you're interested in learning about any of the peptides or other resources that we have and that we use on a daily basis, check out the links in the show notes below for more information and message us directly with any questions. We'll answer every question that you have.
Stay prayerful.
Stay focused.
And live on purpose, one signal at a time. If something in today's conversation stirred you, send it to the person who came to mind. That's how this message moves, person to person, and we can't do it without you. If you want to stay connected, go ahead and subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. All the resources and goodies are linked in the show notes, and we'd love to continue the conversation with you over on Instagram. Until next time, stay prayerful, stay curious, and keep listening to the signals. The content shared on Prayer and Peptides podcast is for educational, informational, and inspirational purposes only. This podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, nor is it a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Discussions around peptides, nervous system regulation, stress, sleep, hydration, and wellness are presented as general educational concepts and reflections on the body's design, not as medical recommendations. Always seek the advice of your physician, a licensed healthcare provider, or qualified medical professional regarding any medical condition, symptoms, medication, supplements, or health discussions. Never disregard or delay seeking professional medical advice because of something you heard on this podcast. The host and guests of Prayer and Peptides are not acting as medical providers. Any personal experiences or stories shared are anecdotal and not intended to imply guaranteed outcomes. Spiritual reflections, prayer, and scripture-informed insights are offered as relational and supportive practices, not as replacements for medical or mental health care. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and that Prayer and Peptides assumes no liability for actions taken based on the information presented.